Some of these brands have been around for over 200 years. Others were started by a Hollywood actor on vacation. Here is every tequila brand explained. Jose Cuervo. It has been around since 1795, when the Spanish crown handed Jose Maria Guadalupe Cuervo the very first official license to make tequila commercially in Mexico. That makes it the oldest tequila brand in the world, and by a wide margin, the best-selling. The distillery is based in the town of Tequila in Jalisco, which is exactly where you'd expect it to be. The bottle most people know, Cuervo Especial, is what's called a mixto. That means it's made from at least 51% blue agave, with the rest coming from other sugars. It's built for volume and affordability, not for sipping slowly. The gold version gets that amber color from caramel coloring, not from time in a barrel. What a lot of people don't realize is that Cuervo also makes genuinely good tequila under the Reserva de la Familia and traditional labels, both 100% agave and both worth trying. They just tend to get overlooked because the brand's reputation is so wrapped up in the cheap stuff. Patron. Patron came out of a pretty simple idea, that tequila could be luxury. Before 1989, that wasn't really a concept most American drinkers had. John Paul DeJoria, the same guy who co-founded Paul Mitchell, and his partner Martin Crowley tasted a tequila from a small Jalisco distillery and decided to build something around it. The bottle they designed, short, squat, hand-blown glass with a cork and a little bee on the label, was meant to look expensive sitting on a bar shelf. And it worked. The liquid inside is 100% blue Weber agave, cooked in brick ovens, crushed with a tahona, which is a massive volcanic stone wheel, and distilled in small batches at the Hacienda Patron in the Jalisco Highlands. The silver is the one most people know, clean and fresh with a citrus edge. In 2018, Bacardi bought the brand for around $5.1 billion, one of the biggest deals the spirits world has ever seen. Don Julio Gonzalez was 17 years old when he started making tequila in 1942 in the Jalisco Highlands. He spent decades quietly refining his craft before the brand, with his name on it, was officially launched in 1987 as a gift for his own 60th birthday. He had bottles made for friends and family at the party, and the reaction was good enough that it turned into a real product. Everything Don Julio makes uses 100% blue Weber agave grown in the red clay soils of Los Altos, the highland region of Jalisco. Agave grown up there takes longer to mature, and that slower growth tends to produce something sweeter and more layered than what you get from the lowlands. The Blanco is bright and clean. The Reposado spends 8 months in American white oak. The Anejo goes 18 months. And then there's 1942. Aged at least 2.5 years, which became one of the most recognizable bottles in the premium tequila world. Diageo picked up the brand in 2015. Casamigos. George Clooney, Randa Gerber, and Mike Meldman started Casamigos in 2013, and the origin story is genuinely straightforward. They wanted a tequila they actually liked drinking at their homes in Cabo San Lucas, so they made one. The name means House of Friends. They spent 2 years working with a master distiller in the Jalisco Highlands to get the recipe right before it ever went commercial. The agave is slow roasted for 72 hours and fermented for 80, both longer than most distilleries bother with. That extra time is what gives it the smooth, soft quality the brand is known for. 4 years after launching, Diageo bought it for up to $1 billion, which turned a lot of heads given how young the brand was. The Blanco is light and creamy. The Reposado picks up caramel and oak from 7 months in American whiskey barrels. Some tequila purists roll their eyes at the celebrity angle, but the sales figures suggest most people aren't losing sleep over it. Herradura means horseshoe in Spanish, and the brand has been around since 1870, when Feliciano Romo founded it on the Hacienda San Jose del Refugio in Amatitan, Jalisco. That same property still operates today. What a lot of people don't know is that Herradura essentially invented the Reposado category. Before they started aging tequila in barrels in the 1970s and pushing for it to be officially recognized, that style simply didn't exist as a formal thing. The distillery cooks its 100% blue agave in traditional clay ovens for 26 hours and ferments using wild yeast that floats naturally in the air around the hacienda. That local yeast gives the tequila a character that's tied to the specific place it's made. The silver rests for 45 days, which is unusual for something labeled in the Blanco style. The Reposado goes 11 months, the Añejo 2 years. Brown-Forman, the company behind Jack Daniel's and Woodford Reserve, acquired Herradura in 2007. Fortaleza. Fortaleza is made at La Perseverancia, one of the oldest distilleries in Mexico, originally built by the Sousa family in the late 1800s. Guillermo Sousa, fifth generation of that founding family, walked away from the large commercial Sousa operation and came back to this old distillery to do things the way they used to be done. The agave is crushed with a tahona, rather than the mechanical shredders most modern distilleries use. Fermentation happens in open wooden vats. Distillation runs through small copper pot stills. The whole process is slow and labor-intensive by design. What comes out the other end is a tequila, with a rich, almost oily texture and a depth of flavor that's hard to find elsewhere. The Blanco has a thick, slightly waxy mouthfeel with cooked agave, citrus, and a mineral edge. The still-strength version, bottled at higher proof straight from the still, has built a serious following among bartenders and collectors. Because the process limits how much can be made, it's not always easy to find, and it's not cheap. Clase Azul. With Clase Azul, the bottle is part of the product. The hand-painted ceramic decanter, white with blue cobalt designs, is made by artisans in the Santa Maria Canchesta community in Mexico, and each one takes several days to produce. Arturo Lomeli founded the brand in 1997 with the idea of making a luxury tequila that also kept traditional Mexican craft alive. The tequila inside is 100% blue Weber agave from the Jalisco highlands, slow-cooked and aged in American oak barrels. The Reposado, which is the one most people start with, rests for 8 months and comes out smooth and sweet, with vanilla, caramel, and a soft oak finish. A lot of people hold on to the bottles after they're empty and use them as vases or decorative pieces, which has quietly become part of the brand's identity. At the top of the range, the Ultra is aged 5 years in sherry casks and comes in a bottle trimmed with sterling silver and 24-karat gold. It sells for several $1,000s and is made in very small numbers. El Tesoro. El Tesoro means the treasure, and it's been made at the La Jalteña distillery in the Jalisco highlands since 1937, when Don Felipe Camarena founded it. The Camarena family still runs it today, which puts them in a pretty small group of family-owned tequila producers still operating at any meaningful scale. The production approach is traditional all the way through. Tahona crushing, open-air wooden fermentation vats, small copper pot stills. The brand has a clear point of view, which is that the tequila should taste like agave, not like the barrel or anything added to it. The Blanco goes straight from the still into the bottle with no resting time. And it has a raw, earthy, intensely vegetal quality that people either love or find too aggressive. Those who love it tend to say it's the most honest tequila they've ever tasted. The Reposado rests 11 months in ex-bourbon barrels, the Añejo 3 years. The Paradiso expression is finished in cognac barrels, and it has a collector following among people who appreciate what French oak does to an already complex spirit. Espolòn. Espolòn was created in 1998 by master distiller Cirilo Oropeza at the San Nicolas Distillery in the Jalisco Highlands. From the start, the goal was straightforward: make a 100% blue agave tequila that didn't cost a fortune. At the time, that combination wasn't easy to find. The label, designed by artist Stephen Noble, features a rooster and imagery drawn from Mexican history and folklore, and it's become one of the more distinctive designs in the category. The Blanco is fermented with champagne yeast, which is an unusual choice in tequila production and gives it a clean, slightly fruity quality. The Reposado spends at least 3 months in New American oak, picking up light vanilla and toasted wood without burying the agave underneath. Campari Group acquired the brand in 2009, and it's grown steadily since then, into one of the top-selling tequilas in the US. Bartenders recommend it constantly as the best value 100% agave option at its price point, and that reputation has stuck. Tequila Ocho. Tequila Ocho was founded in 2008 by Carlos Camarena, the master distiller behind El Tesoro, and Thomas Estes, a British advocate who spent decades championing Mexican spirits in Europe. The concept they built the brand around came straight from the wine world, terroir. Every release of Ocho is made from agave harvested from a single named ranch in the Jalisco Highlands, and both the ranch name and the harvest year go on the bottle. Since agave takes 7 to 10 years to mature, the flavor of the finished tequila carries the fingerprint of that specific piece of land during that specific growing cycle. 2 bottles of Ocho Blanco from different ranches and different years genuinely taste different from each other in ways that are noticeable. The brand makes Blanco, Reposado, Añejo, and Extra Añejo, all following the same single estate model. Among people who think seriously about tequila, Ocho tends to come up as one of the most interesting things being produced right now. Siete Leguas. Siete Leguas is named after Pancho Villa's legendary horse, and it has been made at the same distillery in Atotonilco El Alto in the Jalisco Highlands since 1952. That distillery also happens to be where Patron was originally produced before the brand built its own facility. Everything here is done the traditional way: brick ovens, Tahona crushing, open wooden fermentation vats, copper pot stills. The brand has never chased international attention, and outside of Mexico and specialist tequila circles, most people have never heard of it. The family that owns it hasn't pushed for aggressive global marketing, and the export footprint reflects that. But among tequila professionals, the Blanco is quietly considered one of the finest unaged expressions available anywhere, with a layered agave character that reflects every step of the traditional process. It sits on shelves without much fanfare, while louder, celebrity-backed brands pull all the attention, which is either a shame or exactly the point, depending on who you ask.